Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler back home in California. Ziggy, your big move to Boston is happening in pretty soon, right?
3 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy. We're going to have you on the East Coast. Maybe a couple in-person shows for Ziggy as well. We did that last year in the fall. That was a ton of fun when you were able to make it out to Jersey, and we were able to do that. First time we've been in person together since what, like college?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had Jack on the radio show once, and that was the last time we'd done an in-person show.
Yeah, I was thinking at some point in 2021, the year after we graduated, that we had done one, but I guess not upon reflection.
No, we didn't.
And we never did one when we were in Zach's grandma's basement, which it is pretty funny thinking of like the places this show has gone. That was an awesome studio that we had. But yeah, you were never there, and all right, I guess we're going to have to try and get you up here as often as we can, or down here.
It'll happen.
From Boston. Appreciate everyone who's tuning in to listen to this episode. Hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. We're able to relax a little bit, and now here we are in what I think is the start of the dog days of summer in July, when it's just, you have these 90, 100-degree days. You gotta find stuff to do. Even though a lot of people are off, I always found it to be a weird feeling in the dog days of summer where you're enjoying being off.
You have to find stuff to do. I watched the Tour de France for 5 hours.
That's right. Ziggy, I don't know how you watch. I'm sorry. I don't want to make it sound like it's not interesting at all, because I actually I've watched each day so far. Towards the end, you send your reminder to our group chat. You say time to tune in, and I throw it on, and I've really enjoyed it. I don't think I could watch 4 or 5 hours in a row.
No, I mean, it's these initial days are some of the less interesting days where the action sort of all happens at the end. The thing is about watching the whole thing. I mean, you can say this. My dad always says this about college basketball. I don't know why I'd watch before like the last 3 minutes, because the score is just going to go back and forth anyway.
Yeah, set
They're
it
going
to
to foul
80.
each other. Like, it's true in part, but if you miss that first 37 minutes of the game, you miss all the narrative, all the story, all the tension, all the trading back and forth of tactics. And that's what I love about cycling.
My cousin, Alan, we actually did an ad read for Alan one time. He bought an ad read for himself on the show. Again, following the path of this show. Alan grew up in Scotland, and he's a big soccer fan. He always said, why don't you just set the score to 80-80 and play with 5 minutes left in the basketball game? So I get what you're saying there. So in the Tour de France, we're not going to get too deep into this. Don't worry, Vince. One of our good friends said, stop talking about cycling. We're not going to get too far into it, Vince. We just want a quick update. Who's winning the Tour de France Fantasy League, Ziggy?
So here's the top
and
3.
Is it you?
Number 1, we've got Pas Une Chance. I guess that's a French name. Picture of a dog. Number 2, we've got Bob Farrington.
Oh, my father?
Indeed.
I didn't know that he knew cycling. He probably doesn't.
He sure knows cycling. And then number 3 is Blake.
Wait, so you're not even in the top 3 right now?
I had a very rough start.
You
Wind
came
on
in
the first day, sort of screwed my team.
Wind?
But
Did you say
I'm
wind?
number 9. I climbed 8 spots today. I was 17 before today. Things will be fixed.
You came in guns blazing to this. I mean, you were pretty confident that no one would touch you. Do you think this is more luck, or do you think some of these people actually know what they're talking about?
It's all luck. I'm not worried one bit. I win every single year. I'm usually competitive for the global fantasy thing. I had a tough start. Jasper Philipsen, he caused me a lot of unluck, and he just crashed out of the race, which is really unfortunate.
Well, I'm assuming things
are going to be okay.
I'm assuming you might be towards the top of the global rankings, because usually, maybe 4 or 5 people are playing fantasy Tour de France, and this
usually
year
10 or 20,000.
That's pretty good, actually. Where am I? Out of curiosity,
you are. You're really not having a good start. You're in 27th.
Oh, out of 35. That's not good.
Yeah, it's you're right down there with Midwest Mountain Man.
Oh, jeez. Well, we got another 18 days, so plenty of time for a comeback. I haven't adjusted my lineup per day, so maybe that's hurting me. That could be. Although I don't think anyone. So who knows? We'll see. We have a really fun show planned out today. Later on, we're going to talk about Terry McLaurin and his contract situation. Could he perhaps be on the move? That's a conversation people are having.
It's crazy.
The NFL Top 100 is being released right now. Players 100 through 91 have come out. We'll tell you who we're surprised is on the list. And I'm actually a little surprised about a number of the people so far in the through the first 10 players. But we're going to start today's show, and a good chunk of today's show will be ranking the NFC North players by position, best player at each position. And we've seen a few people, we've had some comments come in really over the past couple months asking us to do this video. And it's a fun one because I love ranking things. I just think it's awesome. It's great for having a show like us. That's the best thing you could do with sports media is rank. And we're going to go through all the starters on offense and defense and say what the All NFC North team essentially would be. The preseason All NFC North team for 2025. So you want to dive into this, Ziggy?
Absolutely.
All right, let's start on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to build our way up in terms of excitement. Normally you'd start quarterback here, but I want to save some of the anticipation for later on with the receivers, the running backs, the big names here. So
we don't know who the best quarterback is anyway. He plays for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah,
so there's not a lot of anticipation.
We don't need to hold on to the JJ McCarthy being the starting quarterback. That's coming. So let's start here on the offensive line, okay? And we don't have to spend too much time, but at left tackle, I'll go all five, and you tell me what you think. Left tackle, I'm putting Christian Darrisaw, coming off the ACL and the MCL injury. He was still playing such good football at the time that he got hurt against the Rams last year. That was a devastating injury for the Vikings, even though they brought in Cam Robinson, but hard to replicate a guy who over the past 3 seasons, his PFF grade is 4th among tackles. He's only behind Trent Williams, Penei Sewell, and Jordan Mailata. I mean, that's as elite as it gets at the position. Left guard, taking Joe Thuney, the new Bears left guard. He was moved to tackle later last season, and that sort of hurt his production, but he's been one of the best in the league for a long time now. Allowed 0 sacks last season and a 1.9 pressure rate when he lined up at tackle. Center, Drew Dahlman for the Bears. This was one where I think you had a little more competition between Ryan Kelly with the Vikings, Elton Jenkins. We'll see what he can do. We know how good he is at guard, but he's going to be a center for the Packers this year. I'm still taking Dahlman, one of the best run blockers in the league. Had a injury plagued. And that's one thing you'll notice for all of these offensive linemen basically in the North. A lot of them are coming off injury plagued seasons. So there are some question marks there as to how they'll bounce back in 2025. Right guard. This is one where I think this one was most up for debate out of all the positions. I'm taking Will Freeze, the Vikings right guard, who was having a monster year before he went down in, I believe it was week 5 of this season. He fractured his right tibia in October. His PFF grade at the time, and I don't dive too far into PFF grades, but they are a good indicator when, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not sitting here watching every Will Freeze and every Jonah Jackson snap. So PFF grade,
offensive line play in general is very hard to.
Yes, especially when you're not an offensive line connoisseur. So Will Freeze at the position last year, first 5 weeks, was playing as well as anyone in the league before he went down, having a career year. I'm going to take that over Jonah Jackson, the Bears, where Jackson was benched with the Rams last season. And then at right tackle, obviously, it has to be Penei Sewell. Zach Tom with the Packers, a great right tackle. Unfortunately for him, he's living in the age where you have Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson you're competing with for the All-Pros. Sewell's just the best it gets in run blocking. Could be better as a pass protector, but he's just an absolute beast. And this offensive line, the NFC North has a lot of talent up front, but that's what I'm going with. What do you think? Any disagreements of those 5 guys?
Well, I think this headlining story here is going to be you put no Packers on your starting offensive line. And I actually think that's right. Green Bay is in an interesting spot where I think if we went too deep, you'd see 3 or 4 Packers players show up.
Yep.
I mean, you mentioned obviously Zach Tom, who's maybe the 4th best right tackle in the league. He just, unfortunately, is behind Sewell. But people will be talking about Aaron Banks. Rasheed Walker is a solid left tackle. Obviously, Elton Jenkins at center. But the one pick that makes me worried out of the whole thing, I'm mostly on board. I do not feel comfortable putting Will Freeze at the top. I think it's a competition between him and Graham Glasgow. Those are really the two. And I know Glasgow struggled quite a bit last year. I know he moved on from the Broncos, had a great 2023. 2024 was more up and down. And there's still a chance he moves to center. I don't like picking a guy who's coming off a really, really bad leg injury, and we haven't seen him play a snap.
Yeah, but that was the thing is I was looking at Freeze versus Glasgow, and yeah, he might be a center this year. Where it's, like you said, still a little bit up in the air with Detroit. But for all intents and purposes, let's say we're just building.
It seems likely he'll be playing right guard.
Yeah, let's just build the best offensive line. I thought he was actually. Well, is Ratledge going to be center?
That's how things are looking, but it's too early to say. We'll have a better idea.
Yeah, so we'll see. We're just building the best offensive line. I decided to put Freeze there because I was figuring of the two guys who are both coming off years where, Glasgow had a down year, Freeze had the injury. I know it's off season. Kevin O'Connell came out and said, Will Freeze looking quote unquote, as strong as ever. I think he'll be able to get back close to form, hopefully. And he was having just such a great year with the Colts before going down that I wanted to put someone that I feel more confident that he can reach that level, as opposed to having to bounce back after we saw Glasgow's play drop. Anyone else along there?
No, other than that, I think this should be a relatively uncontroversial list. I have not been super high on Aaron Banks. Packers fans are going to say he belongs up there, but to my eye, he was the weak point of that 49ers offensive line, even playing next to Trent Williams, one of the best left tackles to ever play. So while I understand wanting to put him up there, I think that's the only place you could justify putting someone else. But no, I do not believe Joe Thuney's the guy. He's clearly the left guard, and the rest should be uncontroversial.
So I actually also had another little take here. At center, I had Drew Dahlman. I actually had Ryan Kelly for the Vikings second on that list. I know Elton Jenkins is awesome, but with the move over to center, he's a better as a guard. And Kelly, you're relying on a bit of a bounce back. But regardless of that, it's noteworthy to see at left guard, center, and right guard here, we have all new additions to the division. These are all new guys coming in, and that's, having Kelly there at number 2 for me at center. We're seeing that effort by the Vikings and the Bears to boost up the offensive line actually paying off already in these offensive line rankings, where they're trying to compete with the monster defensive line that Philly has. And, the Lions have a really good defensive line too. It was injured last season. There are a lot of good players on that D-line in Detroit who can cause havoc up front. So I think that we're seeing already some of that pay off for the Bears and the Vikings, who are trying to get that offensive line back up to par, because it's been bad. Minnesota's been better over the past couple of years, but it's really been an issue for both teams over the past decade or so of trying to get these offensive lines to a stable point. And we'll see. The Vikings, I think, have got there. The Bears this season are really hoping, with all the chips they pushed in, that it pays off. So let's move over to tight end here. Now, this is a two-person battle. To me, I like Cole Kmet. I like the Green Bay's got their duo of guys, but to me, it's Hockenson versus Laporta, and I went with T.J. Hockenson. Probably a little bit of bias there. Laporta had a great rookie season. His play didn't really fall off when you look at the numbers. His stats were a little bit worse, but to me, it actually did feel like he was less effective. I don't know. When you watched Sam Laporta last season, Ziggy, did you feel like it was the same guy from his rookie year? I know that everyone says that because of fantasy football and paying attention to the numbers, that it looks like he fell off, but he actually didn't. To me, it felt like a drop off a little bit.
I mean, my view is Sam Laporta got like 40 less targets and put up 150 fewer yards and a couple fewer touchdowns. I do not think he was a substantially worse player. I think the offense just changed a little bit. He got less opportunity.
I liked Hockenson. I think he's a better receiver than Laporta is. So for that reason, I'm going with TJ there. He missed the first 8 games because of injury, and then came back and played about just as well as he had the season before. So I think, if you told me Laporta, I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't freak out on anyone. He's a great player as well, but I prefer TJ.
I'd probably lean Sam Laporta. I like his run blocking and his route diversity a little bit more. I could go either way on this one. But keep an eye next year. I'm not just playing to the audience here. I'm anticipating a big Tucker Kraft breakout. I think that next year is going to be the year he really finds a role in this offense. Would not be surprised to see him number 2.
So we'll move along to the receivers now. And you said that you thought it was actually kind of close among the receivers in the North. I think it's an easy 1, 2, 3. We're going to do 3 receivers. Number 1 is Justin Jefferson. Number 2 is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And number 3 is DJ Moore. I don't think that after that there's much competition for those top 3 positions. Jordan Addison would be my number 4.
I mean, you can say it's easily DJ Moore, but somehow DJ Moore is the wide receiver 1 on the Bears last year, put up fewer yards than Jameson Williams. And I'm supposed to say this guy is the 3rd best wide receiver in the NFC North.
Look, the Chicago situation, I think, doesn't help him out necessarily when the Lions are throwing the ball around all over the place. They have weapons galore. You have to key in on Jahmyr Gibbs. You have to key in on Amon-Ra. You need to pay attention to Laporta still. Part of that spread the wealth for Detroit, even though it hurts guys like Laporta when you look at their stats, it also helps a lot of guys because you don't have to face double teams. You don't have to face the majority of the attention of the defense.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think I agree with you. DJ Moore probably comes in at 3. But if you look at what DJ Moore has actually done over the course of his career, he has had a lot of solid wide receiver seasons. But unlike those first 2 guys, right? Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown have separated themselves as the elite of the elite in the NFL. DJ Moore has had a lot of solid 10 to 1,100, 4, 5, 6 touchdown seasons. Like, this is not a guy who I think has achieved a lot of separation relative to some of the wide receiver 2s in the NFC North. I mean, I think there's a real chance DJ Moore is not even the best wide receiver on the Bears next year. So I agree with you. He's up there now. But Amon-Ra and Justin Jefferson, their spots are in no danger. I do not expect next offseason we'll be saying DJ Moore is the 3rd best wide receiver in the NFC North.
Do you think it's Jameson Williams or Jordan Addison or Odunze who's coming for that spot?
I think that I'm very high on Rome Odunze coming into this year. I think he's finally going to have an offensive coordinator that can use him after a pretty tough first year. But, I mean, similarly, if J.J. McCarthy looks good, Jordan Addison could have a great year. Jameson Williams, he's missed so many games for so many reasons. The injuries when he was drafted, the gambling suspensions. Like, I think Jameson will, there's a lot of breakout candidates for that 3rd spot. I could see any of them taking that spot away from DJ Moore. Yeah. And at this point, DJ Moore, he's what, 29, 28?
Yeah, he's 29.
He's been around a while. Despite that age, he's entering his 8th NFL season.
I mean, look, he's still coming off.
This guy is an 1,000-yard-a-year receiver, and that's not bad.
In 2023, he had 1,364 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, look at the rest of his seasons and tell me which one's the outlier.
I mean, he had 1,200. If you go through his career, it's 800, 1,200, 1,200, 1,200, 900, 1,364, basically 1,000 last year.
This is a guy who averages 10 or 1,100 yards a season.
But he's had 1,200. He's had about 1,200 or more in 4 of his 7 years. He doesn't average 1,000 to 1,100. He averages 1,200 to 1,300 most, or 1,150 to 1,300 most years.
The average of those numbers is 1,190 or 1,090. Excuse me. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes he breaks 1,100. Sometimes he settles in at 7, 8, 9. But no, I don't see what this guy's been talked about as one of the better receivers in the NFL for a long time. He's never actually produced. He's never made a Pro Bowl. He's never made an All-Pro team. He's never gotten particularly close.
Well, we're not talking about him like he's Justin Jefferson or Amon-Ra. I did not anticipate a DJ Moore conversation breaking out of this. But we're not talking about him like he's Justin Jefferson or Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're looking at him as a high-quality receiver. Like, if you asked anyone in the NFL, would you rather have DJ Moore or Jordan Addison next year, or DJ Moore, Jameson Williams, or Rome Odunze? The answer should be DJ Moore. I don't think it's crazy to think he has 1,200. He should have 1,200 yards next year. If with Ben Johnson and the new Bears offense,
the second time in his 8-year career he's hit that mark.
Okay, I think DJ Moore going for 1,200 is certainly on the table. I'd be more surprised if Rome Odunze did it than DJ Moore.
Yeah, well, given that Jameson Williams, again, had more yards than him last year, had the same number of touchdowns, I don't see it.
He also had 40 less receptions.
Yeah, so Jameson Williams on half the volume put up better stats.
Yeah, he's more.
You want me to believe DJ Moore is clearly above him.
Jameson Williams is a more big play threat, but if you put Jameson Williams onto the Bears and you put DJ Moore onto the Lions, I don't think Jameson Williams is going to be as effective. He benefits because of the offense that he's in. He's good. I'm not. It's no shade on Jameson Williams, but I think he's perfect for that offense. DJ Moore's the number one.
At a certain point, I mean, I know DJ Moore has been with the Panthers and the Bears. He has not been in great situations. I'd like to see him elevate above that more than once in his 7-year career.
1,364 yards and 8 touchdowns.
I'm giving him that year. I said he's done it once.
Okay.
I'd like to see it twice.
Okay, fair enough. As for Jefferson versus Amon-Ra, I know that we've had our buddy Will Rock on the show before, and we talked to other Lions fans in the past, and they all have the same take. They go, Paul, I really think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is better than Justin Jefferson. People just don't realize it.
Are we doing this?
And no, we're not. I just want to say, like, that's a very clear 1-2 for ranking NFC North receivers. Amon-Ra's a beast. I also think he's awesome on this podcast. He's like, Amon-Ra St. Brown seems like one of the most fun guys you can hang out with in the league. And he has
Justin
unbelievable
Jefferson
numbers.
is on pace to be the best wide receiver in the history of football. Amon-Ra St. Brown is not.
The difference between Amon-Ra and Jefferson right now, and we'll see. Amon-Ra's had some big years. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe we're probably going to look back at and say, man, he's an all-time Lion, like, receiver. He was a great receiver in the 2020s. Jefferson, we're probably going to look at on that pantheon of all-time top 5, top 10 receivers by the time he's done. Let's move on to running back here. I know that we've had
this is easy
some running back talk lately with Josh Jacobs, Packers fans calling him a superstar. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs here. Bang for your buck. He just is unbelievable. We mentioned superstar, that word. Jahmyr Gibbs is closer to superstar level than Josh Jacobs is. And the NFC North has good running backs. DeAndre Swift's very good. Aaron Jones is very good. David Montgomery is also great in Detroit, but it's between Jacobs and Gibbs, and I don't think it's particularly close. I want the explosion. I want the speed of Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jacobs is Jacobs is as good a number 2 running back you could have on any all-division roster, but give me Jahmyr.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs he goes in the level of very good workhorse. He's a star player. He's very good for the Packers. I don't want to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
Jahmyr Gibbs, I expect to be the best player at the position in the NFL next year. Like, that's just that it is what it is. I know I'm higher on Jahmyr Gibbs than a lot of people.
Well, most people,
but
not everyone.
And as you say, there are a lot of divisions where Josh Jacobs would be the best running back. This seems to be a running trend of the Packers, actually. Is like, we talked about an offensive line, we're talking about it at running back. Like, there are a lot of divisions where their players would be the best, but when you're stuck in the NFC North, there's so many strong position groups among teams up here. You've got the Vikings wide receivers, you got the Lions offensive line and running backs. You've got the Bears. Okay, you got the Lions and the Vikings.
Well, that's the thing is why, Packers fans who are listening to this, you might be a little bummed out that we haven't put many of your guys. Actually, we don't have a single Packer on here yet, do we? So you might be a little bummed out there, but that also doesn't matter when we're talking about winning football games. If you got the number 2 or number 3 guy on so many of these lists, and the NFC North is also arguably the best division in football, that's what matters right there. Is that, Zach Tom is the number 2 guy there. Josh Jacobs is the number 2 guy here. On the offensive line, other positions, you got number 2 guys. So, and then if you keep going down the list of receivers, in the division between Addison, Jefferson, I think the Packers have the weakest. Amazingly, the Packers have the weakest room, in my opinion. But Green Bay is in a fine spot. With that, we could go on to quarterback, and this is, obviously,
this is where it's a little more competitive for Green Bay.
Obviously, J.J. McCarthy gets attention here. You have to pay attention to J.J. No, I'm just kidding. J.J.'s last on the list, then Caleb would be 3, and it's a debate between Jordan Love and Jared Goff. And the debate that you have to have here is, are you going off of the production we've seen from Goff, right, in the system he's in with the players he has and the coordinator? Goff has been amazing in Detroit the past couple seasons. Or are you going to pick the potential of Jordan Love and the ceiling that we saw in 2023, which is higher than anything we've seen from Goff, even though Goff has had some pretty high highs over the past 2 years? I'm actually bouncing back and forth on it because initially I had one selection that if you put a gun to my head and said for next season, what quarterback do you want leading the way? I would take Jordan Love. I would roll the dice. I've said this so many times. I do think the injuries played a massive part of last season. I don't think the Packer receivers helped. Now, if you do look at the drops, Packers fans will complain about drops from last year. If PFF does this thing called adjusted completion percentage, it turns drops into completions. It ignores intentional incompletions. Love, his completion percentage would have jumped from 63.1, which was tied for 30th with Will Levis in the league, up to 74.7. But that's still just 21st in the league among all people for adjusted completion percentage. So Jordan Love certainly had his struggles last year. I'm anticipating a bounce back. I have no problem at all if you want to respond to this and say, Paul, like, stop showing Jordan Love bias because you guys have great YouTube videos for him. That is completely valid because Goff has been a monster and was definitely better last season. I just believe in the guy.
I'm inclined to agree.
Really? Wow, that shock. I thought for sure you were going to take Jared Goff.
I'm very high on Jared Goff. I like the player. I like the offense. But
I like the guy. He seems like a great guy.
And we've seen, people talk a lot about the Packers drops last year. The Lions were one of the worst in the leagues in drops in 2023, and Jared Goff was able to overcome that. But at the end of the day, I think Jared Goff is a very, very good quarterback. I don't think he gets enough respect. I think he's one of the better players at the position. But Jordan Love has shown he can do that too, but better. And we've talked about it on this show so much from an outside perspective that when Love is at his absolute best, he's better than we've ever seen from Jared Goff.
I'm going to play a little bit of the devil's advocate against myself and you right here. Is any Lions fan who's upset about this can easily point and say, yeah, it's like Tom Monroe said. Jordan Love had 9-10 really good games. And then other than that, he's been average to even below average at times.
I don't think that's true. I think if you look at the numbers from last year and look at the situation Jordan Love was in, right? The advanced stats have Jordan Love as a borderline top 5 QB when he couldn't walk. Right? The man could not move on a football field, despite playing a really difficult schedule, despite being let down over and over again by the players around him. Jordan Love played like a good quarterback last year. I agree Jared Goff had the better season last year. But when everything went wrong for Jordan Love, he still played solid football. Now, I know Packers fans, many of them have a different impression of that, but that is my view on what we saw last year.
I don't know. I think that is also the view that I have, even though I'm kind of pushing back a bit here. It's a reasonable debate for Lions fans to come out and be upset with ranking Love above Goff.
Here's what I can say. We will know the answer at the end of next season.
Yeah. Yeah, we straight up.
Jordan Love has to show up next year and show that he can play really good football.
Jared Goff, the past 2 years, has gone for, I'm just going to round up and down. He's gone for 4,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. His completion percentage those years were 67 and 72%. He's been electric. And I'm not sure if you're frozen or if you're... Oh, sorry. You froze up for a second. Say that again.
No, we're good. Just outrageous production.
Yeah, he's been great. And when you... The other thing, too, is a lot of times people in sports media, it's very clear that they... And I understand why this happens, but they don't watch the games all the time. You can't watch every single game. It's just an impossible thing to do in the industry, or else you'd have no social life. and these guys, a lot of them, have families that they want to hang out with and friends. So I can't get too upset. But the thing is, when you talk about Jared Goff and people say, well, he's not, he's carried by the offense. If you go watch Lions games last year, and I watched a lot of them because of the division, there were moments where Jared Goff just felt unstoppable. Every single pass he threw on the money, fitting it in tight holes. It was a masterclass over stretches of the season. And he had a couple games. The Washington game stands out because it was the playoffs. The Houston game on Sunday Night Football, which they still won. He came back and played great in the second half of that game. There were moments where Jared Goff didn't play great, but every quarterback has that. That's going to happen during the season. So if you are unwilling to consider Goff for that top spot, it really just means that you're focusing so much on the narrative from 3 or 4 years ago, and you're not actually watching his current level of play. So I have love there. You have love there, but Jared Goff definitely deserves some mention. We'll see how it goes with John Morton, his new offensive coordinator. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball here. Oh, did you have a closing thought?
Yeah, all I'm going to say is next year, this question will be decided because J.J. McCarthy will clearly be the best quarterback in the division.
Yes, I'm going to run through the units for this one as opposed to a player by player. Defensive end on each side, and there's a lot of good defensive ends in the division. I'm going to go, obviously, with Aiden Hutchinson. The pace he was on, guys, to start last year was just insane. Through 6 weeks, he had 72 pass rush wins. And PFF said at the PFF era, that was the most for any player in the history of the sport through 6 weeks. And he did it with the Lions having a bye in week 5. He had 7.5 sacks through 5 games before he had that horrible fracture against the Cowboys in week 6. But Aiden Hutchinson was on his way to winning Defensive Player of the Year. And if he recovers, we know how important defensive ends are. And this Lions team could go to another level from where they were at the end of last year. I have Hutchinson, and then I put Jonathan Grenard on the other side. Andrew Van Ginkel comes up. People might want to mention Rashawn Gary or Montez Sweat, but I don't think that they are really Van Ginkel's in the same league as Grenard. The other guys are not. He was a top 10 finisher, I think, for Defensive Player of the Year, or top 12. Van Ginkel was 5th, actually. And he was just great in year 1 in Minnesota. Then on the interior, it gets a little more interesting. I'm putting Aleem McNeil there, who was awesome last season. Got hurt at the end of the year. Another bad injury for Detroit, but he, has just been fantastic. And then that next spot, this is where I'm going to get a little controversial here, Ziggy. If you look at all rankings things, you really might not see this guy's name amongst the top. I didn't even see him on the top 32 on the interior defensive players for some rankings. I'm actually going to put Gervon Dexter Sr. with the Bears at the other defensive tackle position. People are going to have DJ Reader and Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. There's a lot of guys you can mention there, but they're all coming off bad years. They're all coming off years where, either they had some injury issues or just did not reach their former potential because they're older. All those guys are in their 30s. Gervon Dexter, weeks 1 through 5, was second among all interior linemen in sacks and 9th in pressures. And then Andrew Billings got hurt, his counterpart there on the D-line, and he had to do a little bit more, and he couldn't rise up to that level. Now, yes, he couldn't be a monster when he had to, but when he had the little bit of help, he was playing as well as anyone in the league. I think Gervon Dexter is a huge breakout candidate for the Bears this year, like another level up. And I'm going to put him at the other defensive tackle position. What do you think?
I love that pick. Gervon Dexter is a player I beat the drum for last year. And I will, just to give you an idea of how little attention this guy gets. Gervon Dexter's Wikipedia page was updated once from the end of August 2024 to the start of the NFL draft. Aiden Hutchinson's page was updated over 200 times in that same span. So, this is a guy who gets basically no
Aiden Hutchinson is way better.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, I want to put that stat in context. What one update between the start of the season and the draft?
Yeah.
Gervon Dexter, he's an excellent run defender. He took a huge step forward. Going from 2.5 sacks his rookie season to 5 sacks his sophomore season. I think this guy is a huge threat on the interior. And when I'm looking for defensive tackles, to me, the most important thing you can do is defensive tackle. The thing that gets guys paid at the end of the day is their ability to get after a quarterback.
Yep.
Obviously, guys who can be run defenders, you sort of need them, but there are big guys that you can get. Gervon Dexter has the combination of athleticism and size. I actually can't believe you pulled this. We didn't talk about this before the show.
Did you have that
I was going to say you're a fool for ignoring Gervon Dexter's breakout potential. I had a whole speech going, and then you took it from me. I'm I can't believe you've done this.
Yeah, what I like that we do on a lot of these is we try not to on these lists, power rankings, everything. I know that we can have graphics ahead of time made that will probably look better, and at some point we should do that. But it's way more fun to have the actual reactions we think. So Ziggy and I didn't even discuss this. I'm hearing it for the first time. You're hearing it for the first time. But I'm excited for this guy. He had an awesome year. And he's, Montez Sweat took a bit of a step back last year. There's a world where he's the best player on the Bears defensive line this upcoming season. And has a real breakout potential.
The other thing to keep an eye on, though, is what Kenny Clark can do if he's healthy.
Yes, that was another. I didn't mention Kenny Clark. I should have. Yes, when he's healthy, he also has that, top ceiling potential.
We don't totally know. Devontae White is another player people are looking at. The thing of Kenny Clark at the end of the day is we only found out about that injury a couple of months ago. If it really was the injury holding him back, then I expect him to come back and take that top spot. But it's just tough. 2023 was a huge breakout year for him, but following that up with a really bad season, after some questionable seasons in 2021, 2020, it's hard to know which is the outlier, right? Is it his early career seasons that got him that huge contract? Is it 2023, or is he sort of run out of gas?
Yeah.
So we'll find out next year.
Yep. So that's what we have for the defensive line. The linebackers at middle linebacker. Last week you were talking negatively about this guy, but I'm going to put Jack Campbell at middle linebacker for the Lions. Who I don't. Why were you so down on him when we talked about him a week ago?
I think he's a fine player. I just don't think he's particularly outstanding at the position.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just looking at his numbers seem to be.
This is not a division that has a lot of great middle linebackers.
No, it doesn't. But he was a lot better last season than he was as a rookie. I thought he took a nice jump, and you're right. There's not a ton of stars. He
was awful in coverage. Last year he was okay.
He was serviceable.
As a middle linebacker again. I think the most important thing at the position is your ability to do coverage. You can get run defending middle linebackers pretty easily. If he takes another step forward, which he might, I'm not saying he can't in coverage, then I think he'll clearly be a great player. But I don't think he's going to be.
He does have a chance. He does have a chance to be, one of the better linebackers in football this year. Like that's on the table for Jack Campbell, and that's why I'm putting him at middle linebacker here. At the outside linebacker, I have to put Edgerrin Cooper. For all the guys we talk about on the show, guys who we're fans of, even though he's a Packer, and even though we hype up Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a Lion, we can still appreciate guys who are just dominant and fun to watch. And Edgerrin Cooper was just amazing last season, particularly the end of the year when he came back from his hamstring injury. He had a 91.3 grade from week 15 on that led the NFL. And I thought he was another really fun stat for Packers fans to harp on. He was one of two linebackers to have a 74 plus PFF grade in all three defensive facets: run defense, coverage, and pass rush. The other guy who did that last year was Zach Bond, who was a defensive player of the year candidate. So Edgerrin Cooper, of anyone we've mentioned really in this entire segment here, if there's one guy that you could circle, Javon Dexter would be another one saying like, oh man, he has the potential to just be unreal. Like Edgerrin Cooper has defensive player of the year potential this season. And I don't think that that's a stretch. He was so dominant to end the year. I can't wait to watch him. The speed he plays with, the ferocity, like he's awesome. He's probably my top 5 favorite players to watch in the division.
No doubt about it. I'm definitely expecting a big season from him. Because really, when you consider him getting on the field, he only played about half a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's his explosive playability, his speed, his upside, it's all there. And we got to see it. I know Packers get tired of hearing about their linebackers and outside pass rushers with high athletic potential. But last year, we got to actually see it transfer into on-field results his very first year.
Yeah. He's going to be fantastic as long as he stays healthy. The last linebacker spot. So TJ Edwards is normally a middle linebacker with the Bears.
You're not putting TJ Edwards.
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not. I'm just mentioning.
TJ Edwards is an enormous disappointment.
Yes, I was going to say he had a really bad year last year. Dennis Allen's going to try and get him back to what he's for his career has been an awesome player. But yeah, no, I'm not. I just wanted to throw his name out there. Relax, it's okay. It's okay.
He's the worst middle linebacker in the division. You're throwing his name out there.
He's had a great career though. He's been a very good player and bounced back.
Hasn't.
He's been a very good player in his career. TJ Edwards.
He was good. The last time he was great was Wisconsin. He was okay in Philadelphia, and the Bears handed him this baffling contract that he could never live up to. It hasn't been any good.
He's not my guy. I'm just mentioning it.
He defended one pass in the Super Bowl. You're right. That means he's a great player.
I'd say he's a good player.
Do you know why the Eagles decided when they gave him a contract extension to give him the NFL veteran minimum? Because he's not good.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I put Blake Cashman there. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Blake Cashman is not the guy I would put there. I actually think Blake Cashman is a competitor for the best middle linebacker. I'm putting Ivan Pace there.
I like Ivan Pace. And you talk about great undrafted players over the past few years. Ivan Pace has to be up there. I think I just thought Cashman was vital last season. There was a stretch. Remember we lost to the Lions and Rams back-to-back. Cashman didn't play. The Vikings were undefeated with Blake Cashman until week 18. And he when he was out, they lost. When he was in, they won. He was awesome rushing the passer. Very good run defense. His pass coverage was a little bit worse than it's typically been. over his career, but I thought he just brought an energy to the defense and to me, the Vikings linebackers really haven't been. Hold on, I'm trying to rack my brain here. Since Kendricks and Barr in like 2017, 2018, the Vikings linebackers have been a little disappointing. I almost went back to E.J. Henderson for any Vikings fans who remember. Like the E.J. Henderson, Ben Lieber, Chad Greenway days. What a unit. Underrated unit. But since Barr and Kendricks, the Vikings linebackers have been really disappointing. And last year was the best room that they've had in a long time. And I thought Cashman was the leader of that group. But go ahead. I know Ivan Pace has been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Cashman pick. And I think this gets to what you really care about out of your linebackers. Ivan Pace Jr. is one of the best pass rushing linebackers in the entire NFL, right? He's probably one of the 4 or 5 best. And he can't really do anything else. I mean, no disrespect to the guy, but like his pass coverage, he tests me. His pass coverage, is horrendous. His run defense is solid. Like he's very good at tackling guys and getting to the quarterback. And that's basically all he can do. I think those are the ability to get after the quarterback is so important that I'm willing to elevate him to the top just because he can do that, right? He's consistently generating pressure. He's consistently tackling the quarterback. But if you want a well-rounded guy, Blake Cashman is 100% the better rounded player. So I'm fine with either of those.
I did find that funny how as you're making your argument for Ivan Pace.
The run defense is not very valuable. You know what I actually care about? I don't care about coverage. At the end of the day, I care about sacks. Sack is basically an interception.
I do care about coverage because I've seen these running backs go out on wheel routes and just be. I just have this. Image.
Well, this is what's nice when you've got Brian Flores, right? Because we don't have to care about his coverage. Just send him in.
I just have this image in my head when Eric Kendricks, when he started to fall apart, I can't remember what running back it was, but in 2018, I believe we played the Rams on Thursday Night Football. Do you remember we were in college? I think we just come out of church, I think, or something like that. And I just remember the Rams running wheel routes for days and just destroying our linebackers. I was like, get Kendricks was covering Cooper Kupp for some reason. I mean, that's more issues than current Vikings football, but like, why is Eric Kendricks guarding Cooper Kupp? Okay, the secondary now. Let's start with safeties because I think it's a little bit more obvious. Xavier McKinney and Brian Branch are my guys. Kirby Joseph is right there at the third, but we're talking about 2 of the top 5 safeties in football. Maybe top 3 with McKinney and Branch here. McKinney had 8 picks last year. Huge addition to the Packers. He lived up to all the hype. Second in safety coverage grade. Brian Branch, first in run defense grade. I mean, the 2 of them together would just be, could you imagine, number 1 in run defense, number 1 in pass coverage, or number 2 in pass coverage. Brian Branch had 11 pass breakups. That led the league. Just awesome. I mean, they were both just unbelievable players. Kirby Joseph broke out himself, but I don't think there's really not much debate here at safety for me.
No, me neither. There are a lot of, Evan Williams, there's a lot of great safeties. There's actually probably not a division in football that's got better safeties than the NFC North. I mean, even a guy like Harrison Smith is not bad at football anymore.
Yeah, I think you're probably
those
right.
Are clearly the top 2. And I think this is why it was hilarious when I saw PFF and their top 10 safety duos didn't even put the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what they were thinking there. But yeah, in terms of the absolute best, I mean, you're picking 2 of the best, 2 guys who could reasonably be the 2 All-Pro selections next year.
Yeah, I mean, the should have been Viking will probably be an All-Pro next year, and he is number 1 on the list. But
yeah,
other than that,
it's not crazy to think that those 2 guys could be the 2 All-Pro selections.
No, it's not.
Been Viking has an off season or the secondary regresses. I'm glad we're not even saying his name.
Yeah,
I can't bring myself to do it.
It's I was looking at the list and I was kind of laughing because I was like, in any division, Brian Branch and Xavier McKinney will be your 1 and 2 here. But if history had played out correctly, the Vikings would have had the number 1 safety in the league with Harrison Smith, and I mean that changes everything. Like that changes a lot for the outlook of this defense this year.
I'm sure we beat the Lions and the Rams last year if we just have he who shall not be named.
We might. We actually might. He's that good. You're
crazy.
I don't know if I could have had the turnaround that Kwesi did, but I would have nailed that pick. Like through the first 100 days, I would have been a better general manager than Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa. I have no doubt about that in my mind. Now he's since then he's taken over. Like Kwesi's done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the Vikings should have a player represented here, but they don't.
Then we got 3 cornerbacks.
Now we got some cornerback. Oh, I only had 2 cornerbacks. You want to do
Put in 3. You know who number 3 is.
Well, I think
we know who the top 3 are. It's very easy.
I have Jalen Johnson, DJ Reed, and Byron Murphy.
Yeah, boom, done. Easy.
Yeah, but I thought it was more like Jalen Johnson,
Keyshawn Nixon, and Nate Hobbs. Those guys could take step forward and be decent. But Jalen Johnson and DJ Reed are 2 of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, and Byron Murphy is by no means a bad player.
Yeah, but it's clearly the order. Why are people talking about not talking about DJ Reed as much? If everyone's ranking him so high and everyone's saying, and a lot of people say he's one of the best in the league, but people are saying the swap of Carlton Davis to DJ Reed is a neutral. I haven't really understood that. I thought DJ Reed is actually a little bit of a gain for Detroit.
I find the talk of a swap puzzling. I think actually both of those guys, both Carlton Davis and DJ Reed, are guys who are underrated. I see Carlton Davis as somewhere around maybe the 15th or 20th best cornerback, and DJ Reed somewhere around 10th. DJ Reed has played very, very well the past few seasons. The problem is, I mean, anytime you're on an absolute dumpster fire of a team, this is going to really hurt people's impressions of you, right? It's just true. Those 3 years of the Jets did not do him any favors. But yeah, I fully expect DJ Reed to be a step forward. And in terms of his ability in pass coverage, I think he's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I'd like to see him get better at tackling. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who's very, very good at limiting receptions, which is what the Lions need.
Yeah, he's 6 years in a row now where he's at a 70-plus overall grade as a player. It's felt like he's going to break into that top 5 cornerback in the league discussion, like where you're talking about him with the other great corners, but he's never quite gotten to that point. It probably won't happen in Detroit, but all they need is if he can be a reliable number 1, and I think that's the floor, right? The floor is probably hoping that he's a reliable number 1. That'll go a long way as Terry and Arnold continues to get better. You want to see the penalties come back. He had a lot of those last season, but the Detroit secondary. If DJ Reed's a top 10 cornerback and Terry and Arnold takes a step up, it might be the best secondary in football. Like that. That's in play. At the
end of the day, if you're the Lions, you have so many playmakers there already on that defense. You've got Aiden Hutchinson, you've got Brian Branch, a couple other guys will step forward. You just need someone reliable to limit the big plays. And there were a few times last year where big plays really hurt that defense. And the penalties. If you can just limit that and play solid football, get your healthy playmakers back and let them do their thing, I think could be a great year for Detroit.
This is the absurd thing about the Lions that you need to pay attention to this year when reflecting upon the year they had last season. Everyone knows they were injured, but the degree of the injuries, I can't reiterate it enough. We're sitting here talking about possibly the best secondary in football. Maybe there'll be a top 5 secondary in football by the end of the year.
Best secondary in football is pushing it.
Yeah,
but it could happen.
But there's a world where there's a world. It relies on the Terry and Arnold and DJ Reed playing to a certain level because the safeties will be there. But then when you couple that with their defensive line should also be great, and their linebacking unit, with Anzalone healthy, the Lions defense can be a top 10 unit. And I mean, this should be a really scary team again. They won't replicate 15-2, but man, as far as better. Yeah, as far as the team goes, you don't want to play them. Okay, so the final collection here among the 22, I'm going to take out Byron Murphy because that makes it 23 players. The rankings went 3 for the Packers out of the 22, 1 on offense, Jordan Love, 2 on defense, 6 for the Vikings and the Lions. The Vikings had 4 on offense, 2 on defense. The Lions had 3 at each. And the leader among all the NFC North players, for most players on the list, the Chicago Bears was 7. 3 on offense, 4 on defense. I did not expect that coming into this. I get the Gervon Dexter pick pushed them to number 1.
But if you take him out, they're still up there.
But they're still at 6 there. And yeah, I mean, that goes to show sort of where I think it's actually a very good representation of what this division is. It's a lot of teams that are pretty deep and pretty filled out, pretty complete rosters across the board here, and it shows the Packers as well. We said it. There's kind of a lack of star talent, and you saw, you have Jordan Love, you have McKinney and Edrin Cooper. They're your stars, and everywhere else, it's a lot of solid depth, solid pieces that you need to step up. I think it's a perfect representation of where the Packers are at, with 3 of the 22 dudes here. Not to say they're a bad team by any means. It's just to say you need some guys to elevate.
So the Packers would dominate the second team if we had gone that deep. But at the end of the day, I think this tells you a lot about this division. I mean, in most divisions, there's a couple teams that even probably the teams themselves know will have years that are stinkers, right? The Giants are probably not going to have a good year. The Titans, the Jets, the Saints, even teams like the Colts, like the Raiders. Every single NFC North team right now is looking at their roster and saying, if just one or two things go right for us, we'll win this division. Even the Chicago Bears, if they're just sitting back and saying, we've got so many talented players on this offense and defense, if Caleb Williams does it, Vikings, if JJ McCarthy does it, the Packers, if Jordan Love can take that next step forward and play consistently, the Lions, we just have to be as good as we were last year. Like every single one of these teams, I think, sees a clear path towards winning the division. And that's what makes this division so exciting to follow.
Whichever quarterback has the best season, and this is not a hot take or anything like that, but whichever quarterback has the best season, the rosters are so close here that they should win. Joe Burrow had 40. Oh, I guess Lamar actually played even better than Burrow last season. But you can have situations where you have the best quarterback in the division, and you don't win because your team's not quite there. It usually doesn't happen. But that shouldn't be the case with the NFC North. Like if Jordan Love comes out and throws 40 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, I'd be surprised if the Packers don't win the division. And the same thing, if Caleb has a monster year, the Bears should probably win the division. Like as you said, Ziggy, I know that you are on a tighter schedule today. Do you want to?
No, we'll keep going.
You want to keep rolling here? Okay. The top 100 players now came out. The players 100 through 91. I'll read them out first, 100 to 91, and then you tell me, Ziggy, which guy surprised you the most with his ranking, either making the list or a fall on the list, whatever it may be. Player 100 was Ladd McConkey. 99, Leonard Williams with the Seahawks. 98, a Viking appearance. Great Viking, legendary Viking. Aaron Jones checks in at 98.
He's a career Viking. He's going to the Vikings Ring of Honor, right? Career guy.
Probably. Yeah, and then, if he's able to take off over the final years of his career and finds his way to Canton, probably would go in as a Viking. 97, Drake London. 96, Levante David stays chugging along here. 95, Josh Sweat. I have to sneeze. Sorry about that. 94, Sam Laporta, who we talked about quite a bit on this show. 93, Creed Humphrey, who I love. I think he's just so good, Creed Humphrey. One of my favorite players. 92, Jesse Bates. And number 91, Tua Tagovailoa, first quarterback to make an appearance on the top 100. So of those guys there, Ziggy, did any of them jump out to you and you're just like, holy crap, how are they there?
This is a player who I've been thinking this about for a number of years, actually. I don't really see what Tua has done to deserve being ranked this high. Tua is actually sort of a weird case. People talk a lot about injuries holding him back, but in a certain way, I think the injuries are actually sort of the only reason people think Tua might belong up here. If you look at what Tua has actually done over the course of his career, his first 2 years were no good. Then you start the McDaniel era, you bring in Tyreek Hill. He throws like a respectable 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. 2023 is like another okay year. 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 4,500 yards. Last year's injury plagued again. But like outside of the records changing, right? They went 8-5 in 2022, 11-6 in 2023, 6-5 in 2024. It seems to me that Tua has always been basically the same guy. Like borderline top 10, but really probably closer to 15 quarterback that's never done much of anything to elevate the offense around him. Now, I understand he's had tons of injuries. There's been the concussion protocol. There was that horrible hip injury he suffered at Alabama. He's missed a lot of games. But when he's been healthy, what has Tua actually done on the football field to make you believe he's one of the 100 best players in the NFL? I think the only argument you can give is he plays the quarterback position and doesn't suck. But I do not want players who play a position and don't suck to be in my top 100. So I don't know what he's doing here.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look here at last season. Let me see. So
somehow he was ranked like 50 last season, which I think I complained about then too.
Yeah, he had a massive drop off from last year. I'm just taking a look at the quarterbacks and where they fell last season. I'm just going to read out what it was last year. Number 2 was Lamar overall. 4 was Mahomes. Josh Allen came in at 12. Jalen Hurts at 15. Dak at 16. That was your top 5 quarterbacks. And Joe Burrow was hurt in 2023, in case you're wondering. CJ Stroud was 6 of the quarterbacks, number 20 overall. Brock Purdy was 7 of the quarterbacks, 28 overall. Jordan Love came in at number 34. Tua was 36, the number 9 ranked QB.
Oh, he was higher than I thought.
Yeah, it was high. Burrow, number 10 quarterback, 39 overall. Stafford, 42 overall, 11 quarterback. Goff, 48 overall, 12th quarterback. Man, a lot of quarterbacks in the top 100. Actually, then there's a huge drop-off to Herbert. So 75, 27 spots later. Herbert, number 75 overall, 13th quarterback. Cousins, 81 overall. 14th quarterback? Yeah, 14th quarterback. And then there were 2 more. Rodgers at 92, the 15th quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence, 16th at 94. So I guess by if we're going off of the past here, we're probably looking at Tua being ranked, like the 14th or 15th best quarterback in the league, which seems...
I understand that fits in where I put him.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time thinking. I understand quarterbacks get more attention. It's a harder position to play or whatever. We're talking about the top 100 players in the NFL.
Oh, no. I totally get it.
Like a guy like Leonard Williams, who he has not gotten very much respect, but for a very long time has been one of the better. Like he's been probably one of the 5 best interior defensive linemen in the NFL.
That, it's fun. It's funny you mentioned that, Ziggy, because he was the guy that I was looking at, and I was thinking, wow, Leonard Williams was my surprise that he only came in at 99 after the year that he had.
Yeah, and it's this is a guy who put up 11 sacks last year from the position. He did it before in 2020, I believe. He had another double-digit sack season. This is a guy who in Seattle has been a very productive contributor. And I just find it very strange that we say, well, Tua Tagovailoa, he's like an okay quarterback. He can play the position all right, so he's better than that. Really?
He was 15th in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year, Leonard Williams.
Yeah. So we're saying Leonard Williams is one of the 15 best players on his side of the ball, and we're going to put the 15th best quarterback ahead of him.
Wow, I'm looking at the voting for last year's Defensive Player of the Year, and Cam Hayward still he's 34 last year. He's 13th in Defensive Player of the Year.
Cam Hayward's probably not going to make this list.
That's crazy. And then I didn't realize Kirby. I mean, I know Kirby Joseph had the 8 picks tied for first, but he was 6th, Kirby Joseph, in Defensive Player of the Year last season. Jeez, wow. But no, I think I'm with you. I'm a little surprised. I'm sorry. I'm not surprised that Tua's 91, but I think it's more of a reflection on the quarterbacks getting that boost in these rankings. So I'm not too surprised at seeing Tua there, but yeah, maybe the quarterbacks are being bumped up a little too high in these rankings. But it kind of makes sense. I mean, to some degree, doesn't the top 100 players have to include the importance of the position, right?
Yeah, but so I'm fine with quarterbacks being very heavily disproportionately represented. But Tua Tagovailoa, he's not even a particularly I think you can make an argument he's not a top 20 quarterback. Right? He's down there with guys like Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence. I'd frankly take a guy like Bo Nix ahead of him going into next year.
Oh, I don't know if I take Bo.
Well, you're a Bo Nix hater.
Yeah, I guess I am.
That's say what you want, right? I'm not saying you have to commit to this. That's where Tua is, right? None of those guys strike me as close to best 100 players in the NFL. We're not. I don't think Baker Mayfield at the end of the day belongs on a list like this because I don't want that many quarterbacks on. But putting him there is totally justifiable.
There could be a degree of the injury last season, and And, the 2023 season was so strong that people are saying,
And
you
it
know
wasn't.
what? Oh, yeah, I forgot that
The
you hate his
2023 season
2023
was
season.
solid.
Right?
People were acting like Tua was a borderline MVP in 2023. He wasn't. He happened to be the quarterback on one of the better teams in football.
So you're gonna have let me just think here. I hope that this is an enjoyable listen as Ziggy and I are kind of just going. This is actually how it would sound.
I'm sure Tua is a nice guy. I'm not out here to like target him or whatever. But
this is how the show would sound if Ziggy and I were just on the phone right now. This is kind of how the phone conversation would go. I'm just thinking through. If Tua was 91. How many last year there were 16 I said in the top 100. So you'll have Josh Allen, you'll have I'm looking at the divisions. You'll have Lamar, you'll have Burrow for sure. You'll have Stroud. I don't think you won't have Lawrence anymore, so he'll fall off. You'll have Mahomes, you'll have Herbert. Do you think Bo will get on?
He might.
All right, so there's 6 guys. There's 6 dudes right there. In the 7 if you count Tua in the AFC. Bo's a question. The NFC, you'll have Hurts, you'll have Jayden Daniels. You won't have Dak because of the injury. You will have Stafford. Will Darnold make it? Will Darnold get on?
You'll have Brock Purdy for sure.
Yeah. So
you'll have Jordan Love.
Wait. Look at the West here. So you have the 2 in the East. You'll have Stafford 3. Darnold, Murray, Brock. You get Brock for sure. Kyler probably doesn't make it.
Where was Kyler on it in 2024?
I don't think he was. I don't remember saying his name just now.
Yeah, no, it's.
You don't think Darnold? I think Darnold might make it.
He might. I think by the voting criteria, he should make it. Whether or not they will is a different question.
Baker will definitely be on. You won't have anyone else in the South, and then you'll have Goff, and you'll have Love. So you'll have 7. Okay, so that kind of checks out. You'll have 7 in the end. From our list, you have 7 in the NFC, 7 in the AFC. You have Bo Nix and Sam Darnold right on the verge. Or like questions. I don't think that Bo Nix should be sniffing the top 100. Darnold, I think you can make more of an argument.
I don't think Tua should be either.
Yeah, so you're gonna have. Well, you'll find out. Like they will be in the 90 to 81. They should.
You never know who's going to make the NFL top 100. Maybe right? Like Mac Jones was 85.
If I had to bet, then I would guess. I would bet yes on Darnold confidently. I would bet Bo Nix. I probably have to bet yes after he goes to the playoffs as a rookie. So I think there'll be 16 guys again, which would check out with last year. Okay, we can move off this in 1 second. Man, I didn't realize how good McConkey was, especially towards the end.
He does not. Next year he's going to get a lot more respect. I think a lot of people were the Chargers sort of had a disappointing season, I guess. Really we've been desensitized to rookie wide receiver performances because we've had so many all-time rookie wide receiver performances. 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns is like a 95th percentile rookie wide receiver season or better.
Yeah, if he takes another
guys taking the first few rounds.
Yeah, he's got to produce at wide receiver 1 levels for the Chargers for me to take them seriously as an offense. I know they have the offensive line, and they're hopefully the running back group is a little bit improved this year. Well, they brought in Najee, right, and they drafted Hampton, but they need someone at receiver, and they probably need more than just Ladd, who's been a nice piece for them. And then the last thing was, I was actually surprised to see Aaron Jones at 98, but with more reflection on last year, Aaron sort of fizzled out as the year went on. And in the past with the Packers, it felt like he's been hurt or he came on at the end of the year. Last year, it felt like he started to fizzle out with the Vikings. But earlier in the year, remember the Jets game, for instance, in London, when he went out, completely changed our offense. Like Aaron Jones was a major driver of the Vikings offense last season. He had 1,138 yards and 400 receiving yards. So even though is he 30 now, Aaron Jones?
He's old, man. Yeah, he's 30. He'll be 31 by the end of the year.
Yeah, so he's entering his 31 season. That's why they brought in Jordan Mason, who should be a very good number 2. But Aaron Jones.
I don't think Aaron Jones belongs up there.
Probably not, but I was a little surprised to see him. But if he's able to have his time spelled a little more efficiently with Mason there now, by the end of the year, if the Vikings are competing, like he will be very useful as long as he's healthy. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is Terry McLaurin here. And this is a really weird, a bad scenario for the Commanders. I don't think, right off the top, I'll just say this. I would be stunned if Terry McLaurin is not a Commander next season. Like it will not happen. It will not happen.
It probably won't happen.
Yeah, Ziggy does a good job of saving the segment's interest here. It probably won't happen. But I'll be honest with you, it won't happen.
But I'll say this. If it for sure won't happen, it's super weird it's gotten to this point.
Yes, and it's a good debate to have because it's like you could see where both sides are coming from in the standoff here. The McLaurin and the Commanders camps, they're not really close right now. That's what all the reporting's saying on the number.
The reporting says they're not even talking to each other. They're so far off.
Yeah, for the contract extension. So right now, McLaurin's base is $15.5 million next year and $25.5 million against the cap. And you got to think he's looking at guys like DK Metcalf, who same draft class, right? They were both 2019 draft class.
Yeah.
DK, who's 2 years younger, McLaurin's going to be 30 this year in September. DK's 2 years younger, but he just got the deal with the Steelers, $33 million a season, 4 years, $132 million extension. So, yes, 2 years younger is very important, but Terry McLaurin,
a wide receiver too, just got handed a $29 million a year deal in T. Higgins.
Yeah. T. Higgins just got 29, 5 straight 1,000-yard years from McLaurin. There's certain times in negotiations where you have the upper hand, like that your employer, whoever it is, needs you, and that's where McLaurin's at. Because the Commanders, frankly, need him. They brought in Debo, they brought in Tunsil. Like, they're going for the Super Bowl this season. And they can't win it without Terry McLaurin. Well, they could. There's a world it could happen. But they need Terry McLaurin on that field because he is by far, even with Debo, he's by far their best offensive weapon. And
yeah, if you look at this Commanders depth chart right now, their wide receiver room is Terry McLaurin, Debo, and Noah Brown. The replacement for Terry McLaurin on the roster is Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, good name right there.
Luke McCaffrey's got a nice name.
He's better name.
That's all he's going for.
At this point in Luke McCaffrey's career, he has a better name attached to his jersey than he does actual numbers. And we'll see. Luke McCaffrey is a good college player. But you look at that receiver core for the Commanders, and when McLaurin's there, you say, yeah, that's a pretty good unit. You take him out.
Solid.
You take him out, and it's nowhere near contender caliber. Unless Debo has a revelation and bounces back shockingly. So McLaurin right now, Zig, first off, the first question I want to ask you is, in this situation with Terry, if you're the Commanders, like, how much are you willing to concede here?
Well, there's two things you have to consider when you're a team in this position. One is Terry McLaurin has picked the perfect time to hold the Commanders hostage, because they're trying to turn around the whole image of their franchise. They had a great year last year. And I live in the area. The fan deflation, if they let Terry McLaurin leave, if they trade him or like whatever happens, it would be devastating for all the faith people are putting in the Commanders. And furthermore, they've got no replacement for him on the roster. But on the other hand, if you're the Commanders, if you cede too much here, like they can find the cap space, they can cough it up. But you have to consider what this means for your future negotiations too. Because Terry McLaurin, the reporting is he's asking for something around 3 years, $100 million. That's Justin Jefferson money. That's CeeDee Lamb money.
Well, that's wait.
Right?
He wants 3 years, $100 million, 33. That's DK Metcalf money.
Yeah, Jefferson's getting 35, Lamb's getting 34, Metcalf's making 33. So it's like right there. It's of the top receivers in the NFL except Jahmyr Chase. Like Terry McLaurin's asking to be paid like a top 5 guy.
Who makes
it's more than Amon-Ra, it's more than Tyreek Hill, it's more than Waddle. Like he wants to be paid like a top 5 guy.
So the players in the league who are making $30 million or more at receiver from the top down are Chase at 40, Jefferson at 35, Lamb at 34, Metcalf at 33, AJ Brown at 32. That's your top 5. And then you have 3 dudes at 30. Amon-Ra, Tyreek, and Brandon Ayuk. As far as DK go, like this is the weird thing about where we are with contracts right now is that it feels like everyone's trying to reset the market, or anyone who reasonably could is trying to reset the market. Like DK Metcalf, if I say to you Ja'Marr Chase, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, and Amon-Ra, those are probably the top 5 receivers in football. And those are 5 of the 6 highest paid guys. DK Metcalf is right in there above AJ Brown and Amon-Ra. He probably shouldn't be there. But that's a product of where we are with contract negotiations
and
right
the fact
now.
That they traded for DK.
Yes, they traded for him. That's where we are. And DK is very good, but he is not on that. It depends if you want to say that's 1 or 2 tiers among those guys. But he's not in that group of players. Tyreek Hill at 30 million a year was in that group. Probably still could be. When he got the contract, he was. I don't think Ayuk is. Right? So Ayuk's another guy who's more similar to Metcalf to me.
Yeah, I mean, Ayuk fell off.
Yeah.
But if you look at their negotiating positions, Ayuk had put up much better numbers than Terry McLaurin had when he was entering into his discussions, right? Ayuk was coming off a 1,300-yard season. McLaurin's never gotten within 200 yards of that.
What did he put up last year, McLaurin?
McLaurin put up 1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns. Great season.
But that's the thing with Ayuk.
1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns. 1,000 yards.
Oh, he's very consistent. Yeah, he's very consistent with that.
We know who he is, but that's not Justin Jefferson money.
No,
that's not CeeDee Lamb money.
So Ayuk had the one big breakout year, 1,342 yards, 7 touchdowns. He turned that into the massive deal. But if you go below the 30 million guys, the next guys are Higgins, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, chronically overrated DJ Moore according to Ziggy. Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, like those are all guys that Terry McLaurin can stand in the room with and say, like, yeah, I might even be the best. Like he can make that argument for himself.
Like 25, 27, 28, that's reasonable. But at the end of the day, if you're the Commanders, whether it hurts you in the future or not, the whole reason you have a rookie quarterback, the whole reason teams go all in on this, why you're trading for guys like Laramie Tunsil, why you're taking on that ridiculous Debo contract, is now is the time you can afford to put expensive players who, frankly, are paying more than they're worth around your rookie quarterback and let your rookie quarterback elevate them. Now, Jayden Daniels has shown he can do that on the rookie quarterback deal. He has shown that he can lead this team deep in the playoffs. At a certain point, even though it sucks, you need Terry McLaurin to come back and play. And he has a lot of leverage here.
So
at the end of the day, like, do you want to be the person that breaks up this Commanders team over $4 or $5 million?
It's like breaking up the Beatles.
You can't do it. I'm sorry, you can't do it. And that's why Terry McLaurin is so smart in doing this.
Yeah. So okay, the number he's asking for reportedly is 3 years, $100 million, coming in at $33 million a year, just above DK, essentially the same for 4th highest paid in the league. Do you think
it would take him through his age 33 season?
And I said, when I texted you yesterday, I said 3 years, $95 million, maybe go down to 90.
Yeah.
So do you think the Commanders are where do you think the Commanders are, and this is all speculative, guys, where do you think the Commanders are coming in right now? If he's at 33, where do you think Washington's like, for them to be so far apart that they're not talking? That makes me think the Commanders are sub 30, which is
I don't think that. My guess is I think the most realistic comps on the market for guys that have signed extensions in recent years, like, I can absolutely see the Commanders saying, look, man, we get that you feel underpaid, but you look at the extension Pittman signed, 23. You look at the extension that, like, Nico Collins signed, 24. You look at Devontae Smith at 25. Like, those are all guys who signed longer extensions when they were younger, and they've been very productive on those deals. But what Terry McLaurin is asking for here, entering his age 31 season, he'll be 31 by the end of the year. He's asking to get paid like a top guy on a 3rd contract. And there is nobody like that in the market, right? The closest thing actually to what he's asking for is what Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams signed. Like, if you look at what Devontae Adams did last year, did he have a much worse season? In 14 games, he put up 1060 and 8 touchdowns. He's of a similar age, but you can say Terry McLaurin is more important. But Devontae Adams signed an extension at 22 a year. That's over $10 million off.
the more that you dive into it with the way we are, the more you start to think towards the Commander side of things. Because I think initially the reaction is, oh, he's like, Terry McLaurin is amazing. Like, to the random person that you just bring this up to, if you're like, oh, Terry McLaurin's having a contract dispute, I think the person would be like, well, what is he, like 27 years old? Like, yeah, you just got to give him the money. But then you're like, oh, I did not realize he was going to be 31. So when you realize the age and you realize the production versus these other guys, it makes you go like, yeah, like if you're Washington, you probably want to be paying him somewhere between 25 and 28. And that's, you might even, there are some people who might even still feel like that's a lot, but he's at 23, right? What's he at right now? 23.2.
Yeah, right. So right now that's where he's at. He's not, I get that he needs to get paid more, but at the end of the day, I think this will resolve with him getting a pay raise this year and a nice bump up for a year or two. But like we say, he's 30 this year. This extension would kick in when he's 31. Like if he wants, you cannot pay this guy $35 million to play football when he's 34 years old.
So what's your prediction?
Not realistic.
What do you have a prediction? It's okay if you don't.
At the end of the day, I think the Commanders are going to cave. I think he's going to get an extension somewhere around. My guess is he's going to do like what Amon-Ra did and come in just above Tyreek Hill. At the end of the day, Terry McLaurin can't actually not play for the Commanders this year. This is his last chance at a payday. They will negotiate it down, I believe. And I think he's going to win big.
The
Commanders,
with you.
As we said, they can't let this season start on a bad note.
I think it will come into that 3-year, somewhere between 90 and 95 mil. That's my guess.
And that's a huge payday given his circumstances.
Massive payday. We'll wrap it up there. Some of the team, we don't have to get into. I don't think trade options are really on the table here, but team names that have been thrown around are the Steelers and Patriots primarily. I've also seen
the teams that trade for old guys and hand them giant contracts.
Yes, right. That's DK, that's Stephon, and then the Chargers, who we just mentioned with Lad McConkey. Terry McLaurin would be a pretty big boost there. I also saw the Cardinals and Jets on other websites, but to me, the Steelers, Patriots, and Chargers might all be interested. I don't think. I mean, they would be, man.
I actually think if a team were to trade from the team that would make the most sense is the Broncos.
Sure, the Broncos too. And, the Chargers, Patriots, Steelers, and Broncos, you could probably remove. The Patriots have a different objective this year of getting to the playoff level, where the Steelers, Chargers, and Broncos are all like, how do we take that next step and become a contender? McLaurin would go a long way for any of those teams. So we'll see what happens. My guess is that he gets that 3-year, $90 to $95 million deal, but the Commanders need him. It's fun to see. I really enjoyed that discussion. So, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Little NFC North player rankings off the top there. And then sort of just free flow, Paul and Ziggy talking football over the past 45 minutes.
This is what happens when we don't have a producer.
Yeah, we just sort of got into that. Well, I mean, once you brought up Tua, just all of a sudden, I got curious. You got curious, Googling things, and you never know what's going to happen. So we appreciate you guys. We'll be back. Actually, we have a treat this week, don't we? We have Andy Herman joining us later this week. Jack and Zach, I know, have a basketball game on the day we're supposed to record. So hopefully, I think Jack will be there for that. Not sure if Zach will, but it's in summertime. It gets a little difficult managing records because everyone's trying. We're trying to take the little bit of the breaks where we can before the madness of the season. So should have Andy Herman on Thursday's show, and appreciate everyone, all the comments that people were leaving when I went on Andy's show 2 weeks ago. The episode released last week. We just had a lot of really, really kind comments about our show.
It's a great show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you're talking about Andy's show, right?
Yeah.
No,
I mean, Andy's great. Your show with him was even better. Like, if you haven't checked that out, you should go check.
I thought you, when I said we were getting a lot of nice comments about our show, and you went, "Yeah, it's a great show." I was like, "Well, I think we do have a good show." Andy has a great show, and people were leaving just really nice comments about our show in the comment section. Only one Jack hate comment, which that's pretty elite.
But Jack hate comment when Jack's not even there.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm gonna take the positive view of it. There were some pro Jack comments as well. So that was a win.
We might be asking Andy Herman questions about the Tour de France.
Oh, geez. Well, I guess we're. I guess at this point, we've done a few shows with Andy. Like, he probably has no idea that you're a Tour de France guy. That'll catch him off guard. Could ruin the relationship we have with Packaday, but we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? You got to live a little. So we'll see you guys on the Thursday episode.